Everyone has a secret sanctuary, a very special place. Somewhere maybe they leave a little piece of them every time they go, or somewhere they feel maybe they were there in a past life almost. Well, I found a little island many, many years ago now. I went there on a writing holiday before I ever published my first book, and this place never left me. And then I was on Facebook the other day and read my friend asking the question, tell me 5 things that you like about Kythera. So I thought, okay, here goes. So one of the first things that strikes you about Kythera is how beautiful she is. And the island has to be female because, come on, this is supposedly the birthplace of Aphrodite. And she is like a stunning natural beauty, a bit like a woman who is natural inside and outside and needs no makeup. I mean, we're talking raw, natural beauty. You find the villages are very authentic. There are the traditional houses everywhere. They've got the brightly painted doors and the flower pots, pretty much like you see on all the Greek islands. Kythera has been invaded so many times. It's got the most extraordinary periods of history where there's different architecture. There's Venetian, Byzantine, churches from every different period. So it's got a lot of curious buildings from, all different centuries. You've also got randomly in the 1800s, the English started building bridges over there, like in Catonian places and aqueducts and stuff. Found that a bit weird, just sort of driving around in this very traditional island. All of a sudden, there's this great big monster of an English bridge. I'm sure somebody's very proud of it, but yeah, one of those strange things. You've got in the landscape the most amazing flora and fauna. There are rare insects, rare butterflies, beautiful flowers, rare flowers. Kythera is famous for marmalade and honey. The honey is beautiful because of everything that's there. But one of the things that it's famous for as well is this beautiful flower called Sempervivio. Oh, I think that's how you say it. It means something like always, forever, or living always, or something like that. It's Latin. Because this flower, when you pick it, it doesn't need water. And that's kind of a metaphor for when you go to the island. You're kind of instantly stripped back. You don't need anything. You feel lighter straight away. This flower that you see everywhere, it's got tiny little sort of yellow buds on it. It is the colour of sunshine. And everywhere you go, there's this beautiful, bright yellow sunshine everywhere. It's just fabulous. You've also got all the wildlife, you've got turtles, there are beautiful birds there. But then you go into coastal roads. Oh, wow. I mean, you've got cliffs, you've got beaches, you've got caves, miles of crystal clear water, turquoise, just spectacular to look at with all your little boats bobbing around with all the fishermen. There's quite a lot of fishermen on the island, still a lot of traditional tavernas that do fresh fish as well. And on top of this, you've got, the glass bottom boat that you can go on. You can go and see some amazing little places that you can't access by foot, where there are caves and little sort of very private type beaches as well. And it just overall is absolutely breathtaking. It's not commercial either. I've been to a lot of islands over the years, and then there's a film that's made there, and all of a sudden everybody wants to go there. And some of those places have been spoiled. But Kythera was actually, one of those islands that hasn't been really been taken over by the British tourists yet. And I'm embarrassed to say that us Brits are a nightmare on holiday. And I say, the tourists that go to Kythera respect it. they're, you know, they're not going just to party. You know, they may enjoy a good time there, but, you know, we're talking about people who are quite cultured and quite intelligent. Um, when I first went to the island, I think I had a lot of growing up to do. And I was very much that girl that liked the big city and glamour and the lights and all the rest of it. I now realise the effect that the islands had on me, spiritually speaking, because it showed me what was real. And I think that's one of the qualities about it that keeps it authentic, if you like, that it's not commercial. This is a place where magic happens. The second thing that I found so powerful about Kythera is it has a soul. It has a spirit. It is timeless. You feel it. You feel it in the earth. You hear it in the wind. You sense it in the vibration. You experience it in the history. You can't miss it. I mean, it's in every brick, every grain of sand, every blade of grass. I mean, it's just, it permeates everything. I mean, you know, you can go to some places and the hum of the insect, even, you know, just millions of insects, and you just feel this vibration of something, you know, really special. It's almost ethereal. And you go to places like Millepotamus, a traditional village. I took some photos in 2018, and they could have been from the 1800s. Time stood still there, you know. And then you go along down to where the Fontisa waterfall is, and walk down through the gorge, go past the dozens of abandoned mills. There's one working mill just left now, and then you get right to the end of that trail, and there is another waterfall that a lot of people don't even know about, and then the trail bends off and goes towards the sea. That particular place is just has the most amazing energy. There are lots of places like that on Kythera. I mean, Little Potmas is very special to me, but you can find these little magical sort of alcoves of energy, and you're almost waiting for, I don't know, fairies or sprites or something to just magically appear. And it's really interesting that as I got older, I started becoming very interested in culture and art history. And the number of times that I came across my favourite island in amongst the artists that I was studying, the pre-Raphaelites, and you know, even Edward Lear, the Owl and the Pussycat poet, before he went blind, you know, he painted a vision of Capsali Bay. Um, I mean, Capsali Bay is just like my favourite place to be. You've got the mountain with the castle. You've got then the peppered. It's peppered with white houses, very old. You've got the windy road down the mountain, and then Capsali Bay is in an E shape. I mean, Capsali is just amazing. There are one part of the bay, you've got just a little sprinkling of restaurants and bars. The other part of the bay is quite private. There's a few boats there, a few houses there, and you can be there at sunset. And from various different angles, there's a little lighthouse, or you can see the sunset, you know, over the castle and everything. I mean, it is just absolutely amazing, is Capsali. Probably one of my favourite places to be, so much so that while we're talking of the soul and spirit, that's where I actually want my ashes to be scattered when I depart this earth. Yeah, I mean, there's just something very, very spiritual about it. Kind of strips you back and wants you to be part of something a little bit special. Number 3 on my list of why I think Kythera is special is because it's magical. And let me tell you, that's the number 1 reason I keep coming back. Every time I come to the island, something extraordinary happens. The first time I came, many years ago now, I was on Capsali Bay and I saw a gentleman he looked out of place. He was dressed in a full suit. He looked very thoughtful. He looked very sad. And I went up to him and softly said to him, "Are you okay?" And I didn't expect him to have a Welsh accent, but he's from Wales in the United Kingdom. And there's a gentleman called Billy. And Billy told me that he and 750 of his friends who were in the British Navy were in the HMS Gloucester, sadly being sunk by a German torpedo. The boat had gone down just off Capsarley Bay, a few miles out to sea, and only 75 of them, so what, maybe 10% of the crew, actually managed to swim to shore. Then they were captured by the Germans, held as prisoners, hostage, under the basements of many of the little houses that were on Capsarley Bay. And he pointed to one that had some bars on the window in the basement down the side of it. And he explained to me that what kept him alive was a little boy who used to come over the mountain above Capsarley Bay, and that boy would be on a donkey with a wicker basket that would contain bread, water, and olive oil. And then that little boy would keep the English prisoners alive by feeding them. And let me tell you, at that time, the village had nothing. This is typical of Kythera, giving whatever they have to often the English. So it's the English that have been rescued, because ironically, we had a parade the next day and the British Navy turned up. It was an amazing thing to see. And the Navy were all around Capsarley Bay. And one of the young men fainted in the heat in full uniform. And just like history repeating itself, a Greek woman ran to the supermarket or whatever, and came back with a wire basket with bread and water and olive oil. Oh, and I mean, every single time I go, something amazing happens. Kythera is very close to where the Antikythera mechanism was found, the first ever maritime computer going back centuries, is one of those things that alternative historians are very interested in, because it potentially rewrites technology and history and things, and shows that people were a lot more advanced than we know about. And not far from Kythera also you've got Pavlopetri, which is like the sunken city, Elaphonisos, which you can get to by boat. Loads of different places that you can go on private boats that are around that are also very magical. And then you've got Diakofte. You go Diakofte and you get to the place, and especially if you go in winter when there's nobody there and everything's closed down, and there's these two massive shipwrecks just poking out of the sea. I mean, I have to tell you, there's a very funny vibration at Diakofte. I mean, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's like as if it's got some hidden secret underneath the water. I mean, it's just Palihora. Oh, Palihora. Now, that is one of the most magical places on the island. I discovered it because I once got stuck on the island when there was a strange wind. It was during off season, and my friend and I heard what we thought was screaming on the wind, and both of us are very in tune. I actually work as a psychic, so I'm very tuned into the environment, but also things that other people miss. And I heard this screaming, and it did sound like the screaming of children. And it is the weirdest thing. And I mean, Kythera is famous for its wind. I mean, it even has a period of time where there's like, in the winter there's like no wind. That's just one of those weird freaks of Kythera. But we did some research and indeed heard this legend, and I'm sure it's not true, but this legend that, these children may have been rounded up and thrown off a cliff. And I'm like, hey, that's crazy. But the story goes back to the Middle Ages and pirates. And apparently pirates lived on in the cliffs at Palihora. And you go there, and it is an amazing place, full of insects, full of really ancient buildings. And then you keep finding drops that go down hundreds of feet that have got more buildings on them. And the archaeologists have been there digging up, the stuff to do with dinosaurs and fossils and archaeology and everything. I mean, it is an extraordinary place. But yeah, the pirates there supposedly knew that Barbarossa, the red-bearded pirate, was going to come, and they feared he was going to do far worse, and so they just rounded the kids up and apparently shoved them off the cliffs. I'm sure they didn't really, but it's a hell of a story. And just it sums up Kythera really, because it's a bit like a legend that you don't know what to believe, you don't know what to. There's something you can't put your finger on. There's light, there's dark. I don't know, but I mean, when you talk about weird, I mean, one holiday on the last day, I was thinking, this is the first time I've ever been here and nothing weird's happened. Just as I was leaving the airport, my friend who runs a car hire place handed me a map as a gift, and I said, thank you, that's lovely. Turned it over, and there was a picture by Edward Lear. Now, Edward Lear, as some of you may know, was very famous in England actually for writing The Owl and the Pussycat, so he was more famous for poetry. But he only became a poet after he became blind. And before he was blind, he was an artist, and one of the last paintings he ever drew was on Capsali Bay. And at the moment I was handed that print was so strange, because I'd been studying about Kythera, and I'd also been studying about the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, who were some artists in England. And weirdly, Edward Lee is linked to all of that. The week before that, I was talking to a client from my business, and I was explaining about this strange island that I go to called Kythera, who was telling me that he used to take his yacht there. And every single time I come, something amazing happens. And of course, the last time, my goodness, a medicated at the island. And yeah, more adventures. And there are earthquakes and strange storms, and the season's so short, I mean, it's so short. But yeah, the Kythera winter is, if you get to experience it, fabulous. It just carries something. I can't explain it. I think you have to really go outside of season to appreciate the other side of Kythera, because I think once you're away from, when all the bars are shut, or most of them, and the tourists have gone home, but yet still the island's still there, but there are things sort of going on under the surface. Yeah, it's just a pretty spooky place, really. Reason number 4 is not something that I noticed immediately, because I wasn't looking for it. In fact, it was over a period of time that I noticed it. And in the modern world, it's something very much underrated these days. The island has simplicity. It has old world charm, lots of the ways of doing things, lots of even the technology, the interiors in places. It's all kept very authentic, very real. And I come back to the UK, and you can be little bit overwhelmed by department stores and high tech and, people who are very corporate and, you're constantly on your mobile phone and all this sort of thing. Um, and you end up spending a load of time on Facebook and just, a lot of people, certainly in England, all they do when they're socialising is just go out and get absolutely as hammered with alcohol as they can. Now you go to Kythera and it's almost as if your spirit wants the sunlight, wants to explore, wants to enjoy the history, wants to appreciate the culture, feels uplifted spiritually. And it's like you step off that plane, you get onto that island and you shed the excess baggage. It's gone. And you, within half an hour, are walking taller, straighter, smilier. It's like, this is the island to make you smile. Yeah, just simplicity. The fifth reason that I love Kythera has got to be its huge heart. The people that live within Kythera are so special. They are warm, inviting, they are generous, caring, and that island always seems to be rescuing the English. If it's not during the Second World War, it was me and my partner during the summer 18. We had a rare event, something called a Medicane. So it's a hurricane in the Mediterranean, and only been 4 or 5 of those ever recorded. We got stuck on the island. Flights weren't going in or out, and nothing was too much trouble. A lovely lady at the accommodation said, "Come back." The car hire guy said, "It's okay, you can keep the car," and just everything, nothing was too much trouble. And I'm not saying that because people should give you free stuff or anything like that, but just that sense of, we're going to make this okay for you. We are going to include you as part of the community. And, just going to all the events. I always make sure when I'm on the island, if there's anything musical going on, I go, to the square in Hora and take part in that. I like to see the guy from the photo shop. He will be filming, taking photographs. I like to see the people in the cafes. They just, make your day every morning. You go in for your breakfast or whatever. And then there's the restaurants. I mean, love going to the restaurants in Kythera. Some of them are family run, have been for generations. There's one in a remote village that always makes us feel as if we're family. There's another one where most of the community descends on quite regularly. There's different celebrations on the island. You've got to Agia Pelagio and there's like proper full on, Greek dancing going on and stuff like that. There's always something going on. And when Kythera is going through its winter and it's quiet and it's cold and stormy and all the rest of it, I get a bit jealous actually, because I'm stuck in England where the weather's the same. And I have to say, on Kythera, instead of being like whingy like us English are, everybody's getting together and like drinking and dancing. And courtesy of some of the footage I see on Facebook, I can see all this going on. And it's like, I want to be there. Although the reality of it, I'm not so sure, because I'm not sure I can deal with the electrical cuts and the power cuts and the I'm a creature of comfort. Losing the broadband and the telephone and all that's not for me. So I tend to go in the summer months. Yeah, I take it the easy route. But yeah, the island's got such big heart. There's just no denying it. It's one of the most special places to be. And every time I go and I sit on the bay in Capsali, I'm surrounded by people who live there who come up. "Charlie, how are you?" You can't help but feel a part of it and loved and to love. Yes, Kythera, I love you.